On June 11th, an alarming incident occurred at the headquarters of NETA Auto in China. Hundreds of employees surrounded the office of Chairman and CEO Fang Yunzhuo on the first day back at work, demanding the payment of overdue wages. Videos from the scene show Fang responding to employees' inquiries with visible impatience, even appearing to act as though he might physically assault the workers. He showed no remorse or apology for the wage arrears and instead questioned the employees, asking, "We've worked together at the company. Why is this happening?" He then walked into his office, shutting the employees out. Many employees seeking their wages expressed anger, questioning what kind of attitude is this, and how can someone who owes money act so arrogantly? Meanwhile, others stood silently at the door, appearing helpless. In another video, Fang attempted to leave the scene after speaking briefly with the police. Upon seeing him trying to leave, the employees stood up and surrounded him, but they were met with violent force from the police, who shoved and dragged some to the ground. The scene descended into chaos, and ultimately, Fang was escorted out of the office by police. A NETA insider later shared specific details about the situation on social media.
哪吒汽车的老板被讨薪员工堵在了办公室。
The boss at NETA Auto was blocked in his office by employees demanding wages. The employees' emotions remained relatively stable, but it was the boss who became agitated. As the one who owes money, he not only failed to calm everyone down, but also showed a look of disdain, saying, "We've worked together. Why is this happening now?"
What do the employees want to do? Of course, they want their money. Employees shouted outside the office, "Pay us, pay us." Later, labor and management began to talk, but the boss ignored the legal aspects, stating that the company is going through bankruptcy procedures and asking employees to follow legal procedures to resolve their claims. The blogger stated that the employee's point was clear. Following the legal procedures will take a long time, but what about our daily needs? Moreover, have you followed labor laws and regulations when dealing with employees? A month ago, NETA employees already sent out a joint letter to demand their wages. The number of employees owed wages reached 6,000, nearly the entire workforce, with each person owed tens of thousands. The blogger further stated that not only were wages unpaid, but they also took money from employees. They deceived the employees by claiming they would give them shares. Some employees were tricked into buying shares, with some even taking out loans to do so. In the end, the employees discovered they didn't receive any shares, and the money they paid is unaccounted for. Now the company account only has 283 yuan, and they suspect the money has gone into the boss's pocket. Employees also exposed that the boss, through 17 companies, transferred large sums of money overseas and even purchased a luxury villa on Sentosa Island in Singapore. They initially thought the boss had fled, but to their surprise, he was still blocked in the office, so they didn't want to miss the opportunity to ask him directly. The blogger reported that the latest update is that the employees have been informed to work from home. As for the unpaid wages, what about the shares employees were deceived into buying? The current statement is that the company doesn't have enough funds to pay the wages. So, whether it's unpaid wages or social security compensation, they will all become legal obligations.
The blogger said, "What good is a debt that can't be repaid?" In plain terms, there is still no resolution. Who would have thought that working for a company could come with such great risks? This car brand was once very successful, but in the end, they destroyed themselves by blindly pursuing high-end models, spending 500 million on just changing the logo and paying the CEO more than 30 million annually.
Now, behind the company's collapse, not only are their employees owed wages, but also owners of 400,000 to 500,000 cars. Now, the car system aren't maintained. Over 300 dealerships are also fighting for their rights, and many suppliers are trapped as well. It is said that even CATL, the Chinese battery manufacturer and technology company, has been forced to convert debt into equity, so we must investigate whether this company has transferred money overseas. According to a June 12 report by Chinese media Nine Party Finance, NETA Auto's headquarters announced that employees are to work from home starting June 12th. The office access control has been deactivated, and employees are required to report to local departments and property management when moving their personal belongings. Another current NETA Auto employee stated that the chairman and CEO of NETA has currently gone to Tongxiang, Zhejiang province, which is the registered location and factory site of the company. According to a report by the 21st Century Economic Herald, on May 29th, the NETA Auto sign was removed from the exterior of the headquarters in Shanghai. The sign of the NETA Experience Center at the headquarters was also dismantled. Insiders revealed that after the signs were removed, NETA Auto's headquarters moved to a new office location in the Hongqiao Business District. From the opening of the new office to the announcement of working from home and excluding the May long weekend, less than 10 days passed. NETA Auto was founded in 2014 and topped the New Force car brand list in 2022 with a sales volume of 152,000 vehicles, reaching a valuation of 25 billion yuan. However, since 2023, the brand's delivery situation has taken a sharp downturn. In January this year, its retail sales in China were only 110 vehicles. Recently, reports indicated that NETA Auto planned to ease its debt through a debt-to-equity swap in order to secure new financing had failed. Additionally, sources close to NETA Auto revealed that some investors still wish to save the company, but the condition is the removal of founder, chairman, and CEO Fang Yunzhuo. Recent queries on corporate legal litigation records show that NETA Auto affiliated company Hozhong Auto has added a new execution case, with the subject amounting to over 17.5 million yuan, and the executing court being the Tongshan City Court. The company itself currently has over 100 execution records, with the total amount exceeding 150 million yuan. In June of this year, the company was fined 33,000 yuan by the Tongshan City Human Resources and Social Security Bureau for violating labor protection supervision regulations. The penalty records show that the company refused to rectify actions after being ordered to do so on March 24th and April 9th, 2025, in violation of Article 6 of the Labor Protection Supervision Regulations. In April of this year, multiple media outlets, including the National Business Daily, reported that many former NETA Auto employees stated that the company had accumulated nearly 400 million yuan in unpaid compensation and other dues, involving over 3,000 individuals. In 2024, NETA Auto initiated multiple rounds of salary reductions and layoffs. Between November and December, many employees negotiated their departure from the company, which was facing a crisis due to poor management. In December 2024, former CEO Zhang Yong of NETA Auto was reported to have gone to the UK, sparking speculation. NETA Auto announced that due to strategic adjustments, Zhang Yong would no longer serve as CEO and would transition to a company advisor role, with founder and chairman Fang Yunzhuo taking over the position. Some people commented that NETA has become the second Jiyue Auto, and currently BYD, caught in the eye of the public storm, is destined to become the next Evergrande. China's EV car makers are now lining up to face similar crises. In December of last year, Jiyue Auto, a Chinese electric vehicle company jointly developed by Baidu and Geely, was suddenly caught in a wage dispute. CEO Xia Yiping was surrounded by employee representatives for 72 hours in the company's headquarters building. This car maker is the latest in a series of companies facing operational difficulties, following Weltmeister and Hi-Fi Auto. On June 10th, the China Steel Industry Association issued a statement criticizing the domestic price war among car manufacturers, which has left upstream suppliers like steel producers with almost no profit. This association also mentioned that car makers are delaying payments after suppliers deliver goods, using contract payment terms to shift financial pressures and cost onto upstream suppliers. Authorities have clearly recognized the approaching crisis and have urgently coordinated with major car manufacturers to introduce a measure that requires all car makers to shorten their supplier payment terms and eliminate the use of commercial bankers' acceptance in an attempt to stabilize the market outlook. The latest news report that nearly all brands, including notable ones like BYD, XPeng, Geely, Xiaomi, Li Auto, and NIO, have stated that they will not extend supplier payment terms beyond 60 days. However, after further investigation, it appears that most car makers have not clarified whether the payment will be in cash or by acceptance bill. Is the acceptance bill bank accepted or commercially accepted? And what is the relationship between the bill's validity period and the payment terms? Both BAIC and SAIC Motor not only announced a 60-day supplier payment term, but also pledged to completely eliminate commercial acceptance bills and other settlement methods that increase financial pressure on suppliers. The Shenzhen Development and Reform Commission also issued a statement saying, payments must be made within 60 days and no forced non-cash payment methods can be imposed, which will help bring the entire industry into a positive cycle. Some people commented that the regulation to eliminate commercial acceptance bills essentially removes the veil of secrecy from China's auto industry, exposing the Evergrande-like situation within the car industry to the public. An acceptance bill, in simple terms, is an IOU, which can be either a bank-accepted or a company-accepted bill. A bank-accepted bill is guaranteed by the bank and is almost equivalent to cash, making it reliable. A company-accepted bill is an IOU issued by the company promising to pay at a later date. But whether the company can pay depends entirely on its strength and creditworthiness. BYD, Great Wall Motor, and Geely, among other car makers, have turned commercial acceptance bills into supply chain finance. These car manufacturers have set up financial companies and introduced electronic payment certificates such as D-Chain and Great Wall Chain, transforming the automotive manufacturing industry into the finance industry. Taking BYD as an example, let's look at how D-Chain is used in finance, exploiting suppliers and dealers. When BYD receives goods from suppliers, they first inspect and issue a verification report. However, this does not mean the supplier can immediately receive payment. They still need to issue an invoice. Even after receiving the invoice, payment is not made immediately, as finance needs to process it uniformly, typically taking 30 to 60 days. Our normal payment term is around 90 days. However, the reality is that the payment terms for Chinese car makers are extended to 120 days or even more than 200 days. Even with complete invoices, payments are indefinitely delayed. This is not due to a lapse in process, but rather a deliberate financial strategy, where delays are considered competent behavior. What's even more exaggerated is that while BYD payment terms is listed as 127 days, upon maturity, they don't pay in cash but issue an electronic certificate called D-Chain. After suppliers receive the D-Chain, they have to wait another 180 days to exchange it for cash, making the actual payment term 307 days, close to a year. If supply urgently needs funds, they can exchange the D-Chain for cash early, but BYD will charge an 8 to 10% annual interest rate. If they don't want to wait a day, the face value of 1 million D-Chain can only be exchanged for about 950,000. BYD also tailors payment terms based on the supplier. For strategic suppliers like Huawei, Bosch, and CATL, they shorten the payment term to 60 days and pay in cash, sometimes even requiring advance payment. Meanwhile, small and medium-sized suppliers may face payment terms of over 180 days and must accept D-Chain, waiting another 180 days to cash it in, making the actual cycle over a year. What's even more brutal is that small and medium suppliers that want to bid must prove they have the ability to fund the project themselves while not receiving payment for a long time. By using this method, car makers are effectively using small and medium-sized enterprises' funds without interest, using suppliers' hard-earned money to expand, engage in price wars, and even profit from financial management. However, this has not led to prosperity. Instead, they are on the brink of collapse. NETA Auto is the latest example. The reason is that these companies invested a lot of money into price wars, selling cars at a loss to fight for market share and subsidies, leading to intense internal competition, extremely low capital efficiency, and ultimately an inevitable collapse. Secondly, in order to grab attention and compete in marketing, they introduced many flashy but useless designs and configurations. The cost of key materials originally intended for safety and reliability was drastically reduced. This led to a product that wasted considerable human and material resources and ended up as industrial garbage. After being deceived during the initial excitement, customers quickly turned into product complainers and car sales slid as their reputation collapsed. Finally, these car executives clearly know what kind of products they have made. Their primary focus has been to enrich themselves and divide up the company's assets, so a significant portion of the funds have already been transferred overseas. As for the car companies themselves and the so-called brand philosophy, that is not what these executives generally care about. The true failure of China's automotive industry is that it has lost consumer approval. It is not difficult to understand why Chinese car companies are now lining up to face crisis. One car owner angrily stated,
When the new car makers can't pay wages, is a car key in your hand still safe? First, Jiyue car owners' rights were reduced overnight, and now NETA employees are urgently demanding their wages. NETA Auto is destined to become the next Jiyue.
For a company that can't even guarantee the rights of its employees, how can it ensure the supply of auto parts 10 years from now? Workers are the core of car manufacturing. When morale is low in the workshop, will a few screws be missed in the quality control process? After the R&D team leaves, will program upgrades become empty promises? Besides the employees, car owners are even more critical. Will the lifetime warranty of car owner become a lifetime of begging? The wave of dealership exits have led to no repair options for car owners. Spare parts have become extremely expensive. Second-hand cars have depreciated by over 70%. And who will take responsibility for the after-sale service for 400,000 car owners? In addition to the new regulations on supplier payment terms, the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of the Chinese Communist Party has recently issued a regulatory notice stating that it will strengthen supervision and inspection of automotive production companies and their products. The goal is to urge companies to standardize production, operations, and marketing practices to address the escalating price war in the car industry. According to industry data, by 2024, more than 200 car models in China had lowered their prices. In the first 4 months of 2025, the number of discounted models reached over 60. In May, more than 100 models lowered their prices, with the biggest reduction exceeding 50,000 yuan. The ongoing price competition has severely eroded the industry's profit. In 2024, the profit margin for China's automobile manufacturing industry was only 4.3%, and it further dropped to a 3.9% in the first quarter of this year, below the average level for manufacturing industries. Regarding the new regulations, Associate Professor Chen Qingmo from Tamkang University in Taiwan stated that the policy addresses the symptoms, not the root causes. The real problem with the Chinese automotive industry lies in the deep imbalance of its economic structure and policy design. Chen expressed that the economic difficulties currently facing the Chinese Communist Party do not come entirely from the US-China trade war. The deeper structural problems stem from the long-term imbalance in its economic policies, particularly the unresolved risk from the collapse of the real estate market and the local debt crisis. He further analyzed that in the strategically important electric vehicle industry, the government's all-in subsidy and capacity encouragement policies have led to a vicious cycle of price-cutting competition among enterprises. BYD took the lead in lowering prices, and other manufacturers were forced to follow suit, struggling to survive in the price war. The recent phenomenon of zero-kilometer second-hand car has become a typical manifestation of vicious competition in the industry. Faced with pressures to collect payments, dealers are forced to second-hand new cars. This practice not only erodes dealer profits but also harms consumer rights as a first car owner and severely disrupts the new car pricing system. In order to circumvent policies, car manufacturers are labeling new cars as second-hand to achieve flexible pricing. This not only allows them to avoid official regulations, but also inflates sales and beautifies performance in statistics. However, from a macro perspective, this approach further distorts the market, creating new chaos. Chen stated that when the government continuously encourages manufacturing expansion while ignoring the true market demand, it inevitably leads to overproduction. Xi Jinping's obsession with GDP has ultimately trapped the entire industry in a vicious cycle of internal competition, price wars, counterfeiting, bankruptcy. If the CCP remains fixated on driving economic growth through exports and capacity expansion, similar market chaos will continue to unfold in the future.